Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me tonight at Commarts After Hours. My name is Mason Reed, aka Dr. Reed, PhD in Sound Therapy, and it is my honor to present to you my project, Damn 2. Now, this is an EP I made featuring some of the guys in the senior class. It dropped on SoundCloud May 4th. I highly advise that you go check it out. And also keep an eye out for 2 Damn 2 Deluxe. Basically, it's going to be the same thing except an album with just the instrumentals. So Damn 2, it's an EP featuring 6 tracks. My favorites are Live Fast, Die Young and Hot Chicken. I strongly suggest that you go check them out. Uh, all the beats are made by me, all the songs produced by me, and all the lyrics are wrote by the people who sung them. Uh, I also want to just thank everybody for being on the track. Also to Maddie Norris and Mr. Morgan for helping me out a little bit, and to Miss Pixler and my entire Commarts class. But most importantly, huge shout out to Tommy Jenkins, aka T's Nuts. He's featured on over half the tracks. He did a great job helping me out, kind of fill the beats and make sure they got lyrics on them. And he was also my second set of ears for the project. He really helped me out when creating all the instrumentals. So coming into this, my main goals were to just learn more about making music. It's something I started, I think, 2 years ago, my sophomore year, and I just wanted to learn more about music theory and the composition of music, how to use FL Studios, which is the software that I use to create all of these beats. I wanted to learn more of the aspects that go into creating a song, like how to make a chorus and how to make transitions from the verse into that. And I also wanted to teach myself what it's like to record and produce for other people and scheduling times to get into the studio and making sure that everybody's coordinated. So the birth of Dr. Reed. It really started when I was young. I've always had a love for music. I've had to listen to music before I went to sleep. When I was a younger kid, I always just aspired to be a DJ. It's always been a dream of mine to be a famous musician or music producer. But I first got into mixing music 2 years ago, my sophomore year, when I took Mr. Morgan's mixing music class, where I learned how to make beats using Apple Loops on GarageBand. Then that same year, spring term, I took mixing music 2, where I learned how to use Logic Pro. That's where I produced my first song, also featuring Gordon Lee, aka Soul City Boy. Unreleased, unfortunately. I don't have the file for that. But after I got out of mixing music 2, it's something I want to continue doing for myself. So I got FL Studios on my computer, and that's the software that I've been using since then. What is mixing music? So mixing music is basically composing and creating the beats along with mixing and mastering and adding effects. So when composing, you're going to create the chord progression, you're going to create all the melodies, the bass lines, and the drum lines. And then mixing and mastering, which is EQ, reverb, and all the little effects that you'll hear on a song. EQ, to go into a little bit of depth about that, it's the middle picture you see there. Basically, that's just something small. If you've got like a snare that you really like the sound of, but it comes out too sharp, you can tone it down a bit, or a bass that you like the sound of, but it's too quiet, you can tone it up and make sure you really get that thump in it. And then reverb on the bottom picture. I didn't use it too much during this project, but basically it adds a lot of ambient noises and atmosphere to the sounds that you're using and adds a little bit of character to them all. So the creation process of making a song. Basically, it's like I said, you just got to write the chords and the melody. Then you add the bass and the drum line in, which would have the hats, the snares, the kick, the 808. And then you mix the beat with all the effects like EQ and reverb. You can do that after or during, depending on what your style is. And then you go into the studio to record. And for my recording process on this album, I couldn't do it on FL Studios. So I went into the Mixing Music Lab and downloaded all my MP3s to Logic Pro. And then after I got people on there and to record, I added different effects like EQ to their voices, de-essers, which basically took out all like the loud sounds like S's and P's and really just softened it to make it flow a lot better. And then compressors just to really put the final touch on it and to make it sound not as raspy and more clear. Then I would go in And I only got the chance to do this once on the songs just due to time restraints, but typically you'd go in and edit the pitch and volume just to make sure it all sounds right when compared to the beat. And the pitch correction is typically just going in, and if someone's singing really flat, you can bring it up to make it sound more harmonic. But after I do all that, I brought it back to FL, downloaded it to my computer, and then put it together with the beat for the final step to upload it to SoundCloud. So since I started Commarts, I kind of went through two stages. The first one was from January to February. I created 8 tracks, and they were all inspired by type beats. Those are things you can just find on YouTube if you look up like 21 Savage type beat or Roddy Ricch type beat. You'll find it for any kind of artist. They're all out there. They're just freestyle beats, and I was basing my music on, or I was influencing it based on that. But all of my projects came out way too overcomplicated. The melodies, you couldn't find a flow on. The drum lines were too congested and overcomplicated. And it was just, you wouldn't be able to flow on them. They came out sounding like background music or something like that. And there was no consistency or direction to the project. I didn't really know where I was going with that. But then when March hit and I came to school, I showed some of my projects to Tommy Jenkins, aka T's Nuts, and he kind of had the revelation and told me that your beats are overcomplicated. And he fixed up one of them for me and then showed me what to do a little bit. And after that, I created 8 more tracks. These were inspired by other artists, such as like Playboy Cardi, ASAP Rocky. Basically, what I did for these is I went to the people I was going to be featuring and asked them what they wanted. And instead of going for type beats, they showed me specific songs that I should take influences from for the kind of vibe they were going for. The beats came out a lot more simple and concise. They weren't as overcomplicated, a bit more repetitive, which is something that was kind of a challenge for me. It's a big hurdle for me to jump over. I would always get bored just listening to the lyrics over and over again, or I'm sorry, listening to the instrumentals over and over again. And that's why I kept overcomplicating them. But once I got past that hurdle and realized I just need to keep it simple, the whole project just became more fluid and the songs became more easier to rap and flow over. And that is how I got to the direction of where Damn 2 came to be today. I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already. It's a 15.5-minute EP, 6 tracks featuring Max Browder, Sam Noble, Tommy Jenkins, Gordon Lee, Stephen Rice, and Cade Venkatasan. So it's absolute heat. I suggest you check it out, and thank you again for joining me here tonight.